My name is Diego. I am a storyteller. It was a sunlit afternoon when I first felt the weight of betrayal. My business partner, Stephen, had taken all our money, leaving me in a chasm of despair. I could have confronted him, could have sought revenge, but instead I chose a different path. I introduced him to Lisa, a woman with a fierce spirit, someone who could unravel a man like Stephen. The flashbacks of that day still haunt me. I remember standing in the coffee shop, watching them talk. Stephen, with his charming smile, never saw it coming. Lisa, fierce and unapologetic, was the perfect storm for his deceitful ways. Each word exchanged felt like a dagger. Each laugh echoed with the promise of his downfall. I recalled our early days, when we built our dreams together, how trust had woven us into a partnership. But as the memories faded, the reality of his betrayal burned brighter. I watched as Lisa's influence took hold of him, peeling away his layers of arrogance. I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of justice. In introducing them, I had set into motion a series of events that would eventually lead to Stephen's reckoning. As I sat in the bustling cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the sound of clinking cups and hushed conversations, I couldn't shake off the weight of betrayal that hung over me. My name is Diego, and this is the story that changed everything for me. It all began with my business partner Stephen, who had taken all our money, leaving me in a pit of despair. The sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the faces of strangers, but I felt like I was in a shadow, grappling with the betrayal of a man I once called a friend. I remember the day vividly. It was a chilly November morning, and I had just received the news that would shatter my world. Stephen, with his charming smile and charismatic demeanor, had swindled me out of everything we had built together. I could have confronted him, could have sought revenge, or even wallowed in my grief, but instead I chose a different path. In my mind, a plan began to form. I would introduce him to Lisa, a woman I knew could unravel him in ways I could only dream of. Lisa was fierce, unapologetic, and full of life. She had a way of cutting through the facades people wore like armor. I had always admired that about her. I could picture the two of them together, the magnetic pull of their personalities colliding in a whirlwind of chaos. As I watched them talk in that cafe, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Stephen was oblivious to the storm brewing around him, and Lisa, with her sharp wit and unyielding spirit, was the perfect match for his deceitful ways. The initial spark of their conversation ignited something in me. I could see Stephen's charming smile, the way he leaned in, trying to impress her with tales of our business ventures, unaware that every word he spoke was a thread in the tapestry of his downfall. Lisa, on the other hand, was unyielding. She listened intently, her eyes narrowing with each boastful claim, her mind undoubtedly working through the layers of his arrogance. I felt as though I was watching a slow-motion car crash, unable to look away as destiny unfolded before my eyes. As I sat there, lost in the memories of our early days, I recalled how Stephen and I had built our dreams together. The late nights spent brainstorming ideas, the laughter shared over successes, and the trust that had woven us into a partnership. But those memories felt like distant echoes now, overshadowed by the reality of his betrayal. The chasm between us had widened, and I was left standing on the edge, peering into the abyss. The cafe bustled around me, but I was in a world of my own, reminiscing about the moments that had led to this point. I remembered the first time I met Stephen, his enthusiasm infectious, his vision bright. We had shared ambitions, dreams of success that seemed attainable with hard work and dedication. But somewhere along the way, that camaraderie had twisted into something darker. Greed had seeped into our partnership, and I had been blind to the signs. As I glanced back at Stephen and Lisa, I could see the dynamic shifting. Lisa's fierce spirit was beginning to peel away the layers of Stephen's arrogance, exposing the insecurities beneath. The laughter they shared was laden with an unspoken tension, a dance of power that I knew would lead to his reckoning. I felt a strange sense of justice in that moment, as if I had orchestrated a symphony of fate, setting into motion a series of events that would ultimately dismantle the foundation of his deceit. I couldn't help but think about the messages I had received from my younger brother William just days before. He had hinted at Stephen's questionable actions, warning me of the rumors swirling around town. "You need to keep an eye on him," William had said, his voice laced with concern. "There's something off about the way he's been acting." I had brushed it off at the time, attributing it to sibling paranoia, but now I understood the weight of those words. The seeds of doubt had been planted long before I knew the full extent of Stephen's betrayal. In that cafe, as I watched their interaction unfold, I felt a surge of anticipation. Each word exchanged felt like a dagger, each laugh echoing with the promise of his downfall. Lisa was relentless, challenging Stephen's stories with her own experiences, her voice rising above the ordinary cafe chatter. I could see him squirm slightly, the cracks in his facade starting to show. The confidence that had once radiated from him now felt hollow, a mask slipping away under the scrutiny of someone unafraid to confront the truth. With each passing moment, the atmosphere shifted. I could sense the tension building, the stakes rising higher with every shared glance between them. I was both a spectator and a participant in this unfolding drama, my heart racing as I anticipated the inevitable revelation. Would Lisa see through Stephen's charming exterior? Would she be the one to expose him for the fraud he truly was? As they continued to converse, I felt the weight of my own decisions pressing down on me. Had I done the right thing by introducing them? Or was I merely a puppet in a game I had set in motion? The answers were as elusive as the steam rising from my untouched coffee cup. But one thing was clear: the path ahead would be filled with turmoil, and I was ready to witness the unraveling of a man who had once been my partner, my friend. In that moment, I realized that my life was about to change, and I was prepared to embrace the chaos that lay ahead. The cafe buzzed around me, but my focus remained fixed on Stephen and Lisa, two forces colliding in a way that would alter the course of all our lives. I felt a flicker of hope amidst the uncertainty, a belief that perhaps this was the beginning of a new chapter, one that would allow me to reclaim my narrative in the wake of betrayal. As I sat in the bustling cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the sound of clinking cups and hushed conversations, I couldn't shake off the weight of betrayal that hung over me. My name is Diego, and this is the story that changed everything for me. It all began with my business partner, Stephen, who had taken all our money, leaving me in a pit of despair. The sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the faces of strangers, but I felt like I was in a shadow, grappling with the betrayal of a man I once called a friend. With each passing moment, the atmosphere shifted. I could sense the tension building, the stakes rising higher with every shared glance between them. I was both a spectator and a participant in this unfolding drama, my heart racing as I anticipated the inevitable revelation. Would Lisa see through Stephen's charming exterior? Would she be the one to expose him for the fraud he truly was? As they continued to converse, I felt the weight of my own decisions pressing down on me. Had I done the right thing by introducing them? Or was I merely a puppet in a game I had set in motion? The answers were as elusive as the steam rising from my untouched coffee cup. But one thing was clear: the path ahead would be filled with turmoil, and I was ready to witness the unraveling of a man who had once been my partner, my friend. In that moment, I realized that my life was about to change, and I was prepared to embrace the chaos that lay ahead. The cafe buzzed around me, but my focus remained fixed on Stephen and Lisa, two forces colliding in a way that would alter the course of all our lives. I felt a flicker of hope amidst the uncertainty, a belief that perhaps this was the beginning of a new chapter, one that would allow me to reclaim my narrative in the wake of betrayal. As I sat there, the aroma of coffee swirling around me, I felt an electric tension in the air between Stephen and Lisa. They were two opposing forces, and the cafe, once a backdrop of mundane chatter, had transformed into a battleground where truths would collide. I leaned back in my chair, my heart racing with anticipation. The moment felt monumental, as if the universe had conspired to bring them together at this very hour. Stephen, ever the charmer, leaned forward, his voice smooth and confident. "You know, Lisa, I've always believed that success comes from taking risks. You have to trust your instincts." He flashed his trademark smile, his eyes sparkling with a mix of bravado and arrogance. I could almost hear the echo of his hollow words from years past, laced with the same deceit that had cost me everything. Lisa, however, was unfazed. "Oh, really? Trusting instincts can lead to disaster if those instincts are flawed," she replied, her tone light yet piercing. She had a way of dissecting people's bravado, and I could see it in the way she scrutinized him. It was as if she was peeling back layers of his carefully crafted facade, exposing the insecurities lurking beneath. The conversation flowed, but the undercurrents of tension were palpable. I could sense the shift in Stephen's demeanor as Lisa challenged him. Each question she posed was a jab, each laugh she shared a reminder of the distance between his fabricated confidence and the truth of his character. I felt a mix of exhilaration and dread, knowing that this encounter held the potential to unravel everything he had built on lies. "You've had quite a run, haven't you?" Lisa said, her voice laced with curiosity. "Tell me about your latest venture. I've heard some interesting things about it." Her tone was light, but I could see the sharpness in her eyes. She was not just asking out of politeness, she was probing, seeking the cracks in his story. Stephen hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. "It's just business, you know. You take risks, and sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't." He waved his hand dismissively, but I could see the cracks beginning to show. The confidence he had exuded moments ago was faltering under the weight of her questions. Lisa leaned in closer, her gaze unwavering. "But isn't it more than just business? What about the people involved, the relationships, the trust?" Her voice rose slightly, echoing around the cafe, drawing the attention of nearby patrons. I could see the discomfort etched on Stephen's face, and a surge of satisfaction washed over me. This was the reckoning I had hoped for. "You have to understand," he began, attempting to regain control of the conversation. "Business is cutthroat. Emotions have no place in it." But Lisa wasn't letting him off the hook that easily. "Really? So you're saying that it's acceptable to betray those who trust you? To take what isn't yours without a second thought?" Her words were sharp, and I could see Stephen's facade crumbling further. He shifted in his seat, the confidence draining from him as Lisa's relentless questioning exposed the truth behind his charming exterior. "You don't understand the pressure," he finally retorted, his voice rising in frustration. "You don't know what it's like to have everything on the line." It was a desperate attempt to regain some semblance of control, but Lisa was having none of it. "Pressure doesn't justify deceit, Stephen," she said firmly, her eyes locking onto his. It was a moment of clarity that resonated not just with him, but with me as well. I had spent so long grappling with the betrayal, the feeling of helplessness that had consumed me, but watching this confrontation unfold, I felt a sense of empowerment. As Lisa continued to press him, I could see the sweat forming on Stephen's brow. The walls he had built around himself were collapsing, and I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. This was a man I had once trusted, a partner who had shared my dreams. Now he was unraveling before my eyes, and I couldn't help but wonder how far he would fall. "You think you're invincible, don't you?" Lisa challenged, her voice steady. "But everyone has a breaking point. Sometimes the truth finds a way to surface, no matter how deep you bury it." Her words hung in the air like a dark cloud, foreboding and heavy with meaning. Stephen's expression shifted, a flicker of panic flashing across his face. "You don't know me," he shot back. But I could see his bravado slipping away, leaving behind a man cornered by his own lies. "I know enough," Lisa replied, her voice unwavering. "I know that people like you think they can get away with anything, but every action has consequences." The finality in her tone sent a shiver down my spine. It was a declaration, a promise of reckoning that I had longed to see. In that moment, I felt a rush of exhilaration. I had orchestrated this encounter, and now I was witnessing its explosive potential. The cafe around us faded into the background as the two of them stood at the precipice of a revelation that could change everything. Would Stephen finally confront his actions? Would he acknowledge the pain he had caused, not just to me, but to others as well? I held my breath, knowing that the climax of this confrontation was approaching. The stakes were high, and the air crackled with tension. As Lisa continued to challenge him, I felt a sense of hope rising within me. Perhaps this was the moment I had been waiting for, the moment that would allow me to reclaim my narrative. A reckoning was unfolding, and I was ready to witness the unraveling of a man who had once been my partner, my friend. The cafe buzzed around us. But my focus remained fixed on Stephen and Lisa, two forces colliding in a way that would alter the course of all our lives. The chaos was just beginning, and I was prepared to embrace whatever came next. Stephen sat across from Lisa at the cafe, the once warm atmosphere now feeling charged with an electric tension. I watched intently, my heart pounding as their conversation unfolded like a carefully choreographed dance. Weeks had passed since I had introduced them, and in that time, I had witnessed the unraveling of a man who had once been my partner, my friend. The stakes were high, and the air was thick with anticipation. "Tell me, Stephen," Lisa began, her voice steady yet probing, "what do you think it means to truly succeed in business?" Her tone was casual, but I could sense her intent. She was not here for small talk. She was here to peel back the layers of his carefully constructed facade. Stephen leaned back, crossing his arms defensively. "Success is about taking risks, Lisa. It's about knowing when to push boundaries and when to hold back." He flashed a charming smile, but I could see the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. He was trying to regain control, but Lisa was relentless. "Is that what you tell yourself?" she pressed, her gaze unwavering. "That it's just business? What about the people involved? What about trust?" Her words cut through the air, sharp and unyielding. I could see Stephen squirm, the confidence he had once exuded beginning to falter under the weight of her scrutiny. "Business is cutthroat, Lisa," he replied, his voice rising slightly. "Emotions have no place in it." The arrogance in his tone was palpable, but I could see the cracks beginning to show. The man who had once held all the cards was now cornered, and I felt a surge of satisfaction at the sight. Lisa leaned in closer, her expression unwavering. "But doesn't that justify betraying those who trust you? Taking what isn't yours without a second thought?" The cafe buzzed around us, but I felt as if time had slowed, the world narrowing down to the confrontation unfolding before me. Stephen's bravado began to slip away, replaced by a look of frustration. "You don't understand the pressure," he shot back, desperation creeping into his voice. "You don't know what it's like to have everything on the line." It was a weak defense, and I could see the doubt creeping into his demeanor. "Pressure doesn't excuse deceit, Stephen," Lisa replied firmly, her eyes locked onto his. The clarity in her voice resonated not just with him, but with me as well. For so long, I had felt the weight of betrayal, the sense of helplessness that had consumed me. But witnessing Lisa confront him, I felt a strange sense of empowerment. "You think you're invincible, don't you?" she challenged, her voice steady. "But everyone has a breaking point. The truth finds a way to surface, no matter how deep you bury it." Her words hung in the air, heavy with the promise of reckoning. Stephen's expression shifted, panic flickering in his eyes. "You don't know me," he retorted, but I could see his bravado crumbling, leaving behind a man trapped by his own lies. "I know enough," Lisa replied, her voice unwavering. "People like you think they can get away with anything, but every action has consequences." The finality in her tone sent a shiver down my spine, a declaration of the reckoning I had longed to see. As their conversation continued, I felt a rush of exhilaration. I had orchestrated this encounter, and now I was witnessing its explosive potential. The cafe around us faded into the background as they stood at the precipice of a revelation that could change everything. Would Stephen finally confront his actions? Would he acknowledge the pain he had caused, not just to me, but to others as well? "Let's talk about your latest venture," Lisa said, her tone light yet probing. "I've heard some interesting things about it." She was not letting him off the hook, and I admired her courage. She was determined to expose the truth. "It's just business," he replied dismissively, attempting to regain control. "You take risks, and sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't." But I could see the uncertainty in his eyes, the confidence waning as Lisa pressed on. "But isn't it more than just business?" Lisa countered, her voice rising slightly. "What about the relationships, the trust?" Each question was a jab, and I could see the discomfort etched on Stephen's face. The walls he had built around himself were crumbling, and I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. As Lisa continued to challenge him, I could see the sweat forming on Stephen's brow. The facade he had maintained for so long was slipping away, revealing the insecurities lurking beneath. He was unraveling before my eyes, and I couldn't help but wonder how far he would fall. "You think you can charm your way out of this?" Lisa pressed, her tone unwavering. "But the truth has a way of surfacing, Stephen. You can't hide from it forever." Her words were like daggers, piercing through the remnants of his bravado. In that moment, I felt a sense of hope rising within me. Maybe this was the moment I had been waiting for, a reckoning that would allow me to reclaim my narrative. The chaos was just beginning, and I was prepared to embrace whatever came next. The cafe buzzed around us, but my focus remained fixed on Stephen and Lisa, two forces colliding in a way that would alter the course of all our lives. I could see the realization dawning on Stephen, the gravity of his actions weighing heavily on him. The confrontation had reached its climax, and I held my breath, knowing that the outcome would change everything. Finally, as the tension reached its peak, Lisa leaned back, her expression resolute. "You need to own up to what you've done, Stephen. It's time to face the consequences of your actions." Her words hung in the air, a challenge and a promise all at once. I watched as Stephen's mask slipped entirely, revealing a man who was no longer in control. The reckoning I had orchestrated was unfolding before me, and I felt an overwhelming sense of liberation. The truth was finally surfacing, and I was ready to embrace the chaos that lay ahead.